What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to episode 63 of the X Button Gaming Podcast. Next episode is 64, and we're going to go back to the Nintendo 64 in that episode. I made sure to save it for that. But in the meantime, we're taking it easy today. We have a couple guests here, and we're just going to talk, just going to shoot the breeze, and just have a nice, relaxed episode and see if we can't keep it well under 3 hours for a change.
It's a warm summer day.
It is very warm. The air conditioning was on until I had to turn it off because it's too loud. Mm-hmm. So we might end it even sooner because we get too hot. But the goal here is it is July 4th, so we want to be done before the fireworks start making it impossible to record an episode. But we'll see how it goes. So obviously, as normal, I'm your host, Chris. I realize I never say that, so if anybody comes in for the first episode, for their first episode, they're like, "Who is this guy?" He never said his name. I need to do better about that. So, yeah, I'm Mr. X Button Gaming himself, and I have two guests with me, both previous guests. We have the puzzle master himself, Mr. Joel here.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's going on?
That's every YouTube video starting. Hey guys.
Hey guys, smash that like button. Smash and subscribe.
Smash and subscribe.
I 100%. I am very close to starting YouTube content, and I am going to say smash that like button just as a joke.
Will you please hey guys us?
Hey guys, welcome back to my first episode. So Joel's back. Thanks for coming on. And then also we have my nephew, Connor, here joining us again for his second episode. He was here originally for the Sonic the Hedgehog episode we did a while back. And thanks for coming back, Connor.
No problem.
No problem. I got 2 thumbs up even. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about what you guys have been playing. But before we get started into that, let's just see how are you guys doing. Joel, what's been going on in your life?
Nothing much.
Oh, yeah?
Know? Summer's here.
Yeah, it is. It's hot. Your kids excited to be outside more?
Yes, I have a kiddie pool.
Oh, nice.
So.
Do you just sit in that and make them go around? Stay out of this. Is mine now.
This is my kiddie pool.
Yeah, it's that time of year. We were just looking at because we live in an apartment, so we don't have like a backyard, but we have a little balcony, and we're like, let's get something for the balcony. Like they have, this is gonna sound stupid, but they have these little things you can like put your feet in and like just to like kind of get a little bit of a pool sensation.
Oh, is that the name of the product?
That's what it should have been.
Just put a hot tub on the balcony.
Dude, let's go.
That works,
yeah.
right?
You could do electrical work. Can you wire it for a hot tub?
No.
You're useless. So a kiddie pool, huh?
Yeah.
Do they still make slip and slides?
They do.
Dude, those were like I loved slip and slides when I was a kid.
Me too. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah. Have your kids ever had one?
No.
You got to get one, man.
It's a formative experience. You got to have it happen.
Yeah, because you have to accidentally go down it dry like a dummy.
I don't
and
have
like totally scrape it.
Yeah, I don't have hills, so I think maybe I've been. YouTube has just made us go towards the most extreme thing. But I saw a video where it wasn't even a slip and slide. It was like trash bags, and they poured oil on it, I think, or soap, and they were just flying down it. And I was like, this is changing everything I knew about slip and slide.
This looks awesome.
And I want it.
In the house I grew up in the backyard, there wasn't a hill, but there was like a little like dip where it would probably, it was flat and then it went down like a couple feet, like at an angle. And we would set the slip and slide out so that if you didn't stop at the end, you'd go shooting down that that little hill. So it was actually kind of the goal to just keep going because it was fun. But man, those were fun. But they'd break really easy. At least I remember we had a couple of them, and they'd always get torn up.
Yeah, I don't think they last very long.
They're cool, though. Summertime, though. When you're a kid, man, summertime is where it's at.
That's it.
So, Connor, what about you? You're on summer break, yeah?
Yeah, I am.
Anything fun going on?
Not really. It's summer, so
So
probably
you're-
gonna try and get a job.
Oh, look at that. Little working man over here. Well, you just told me today that you worked the spring fair, correct?
Yeah, I did.
So what did you do there?
So I worked doing Fisher scones, and I would prepare the dough to be baked. I would also go over when we were done with all the dough and help prepare the scones, though I wasn't very good at it.
But you said they called you back for graduations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you must have been better at it than you give yourself credit for.
Probably for the dough, because they probably didn't have enough people to do the dough.
So they're like, dude, we need somebody, anybody, even that bad scone man.
I liked doing the dough. I was good at that.
Yeah. How does that work? Do you just, I mean, I've never watched them do it, I guess, but do they just roll it up and like make it the scone shape?
They pour it out onto a table, all the dough from the mixer, and you have to weigh it, and then you have to knead it, and then flatten it, and then cut it into the shapes of the dough, and then put them
Gotcha.
in specific orders on a tray that they put into the oven.
Okay. So the most important question working at a scone place is, did you get any free scones?
Yeah, I did. They did. They're
Plen-
very good.
Yeah. No, they're really good. So for anybody who doesn't know where we're located, we're kind of in like the Tacoma area of Washington, and in a little, it's not that little town called Puyallup, we have a state fair, and it's pretty big. But the scones there, are they local? I think they are. Like they probably send the scones out around, but
They have food trucks. They have like food trucks that they'll send to occasions.
okay.
Maybe like a concert or something. I'm not 100%
Oh, that's
sure,
cool.
though.
He just said he was making them here. That means local.
That's true. I mean, I
I
knew
actually
that meant
flew
that,
down to
but-
Arizona to make that.
Oh wow, traveling man for scones. What I meant, Joel, is the company local.
I don't know.
Oh, well, I think they might be, but they're good scones. I remember when I was a kid, like that would kind of be the last thing we'd do on the way out. We'd stop and get a bag of scones, and they'd be breakfast for a couple days. But they're good.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't offer me any, man.
I don't see you very often. So
That's true. I hide. I'm basically a hermit. Well, anything else? You said you've been going to the gym.
I have. Yeah. Do that a lot recently. I really enjoy it. I go with my friend Zane a lot.
That's good. I could learn a thing or two from you about actually working out and being healthy, because I do not go to the gym. I hate the gym, but I need to start going again since we pay for a membership. I would be curious, how many people pay for a membership to the gym and don't use it or use it very rarely? Because I bet it's a lot.
Ask the manager of the gym.
Yeah, that's true. Are you the manager of the gym?
No, I'm not.
Man, I bet it's a lot though. I mean, I know they have to make bank just on people not showing up ever. Ugh. I keep trying to convince Jasmine to cancel it, but she says that we need to go. So
You better get going, Chris.
I need to before I have a heart attack. I'm not getting younger. I will be 37 next week. Ew.
Good job, Chris.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
just getting older.
Yeah, it's true. I am pushing 40 now, and I don't feel it. Like, sometimes I wake up and I feel it a little bit, but I still feel kind of like a kid. So
It's all in your head.
yeah. Oh, if you see our apartment, we definitely aren't living like we're almost, well, like I'm almost 40. Jasmine's a little younger than me, but
You getting ready to retire, Chris?
oh gosh, yes, I'm almost there.
40, the classic retirement age.
By the time I'm retirement age, it'll then be pushed to like 90. I fully expect not to retire in my life, just die working. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you plan on getting a job. It's very responsible of you. At 16, I was definitely not thinking of getting a job. I think I would have if my parents would have let me, but they were not willing to let me work. I don't know why.
I want to be able to pay for driver's ed because we have it scheduled. I'm going to start the end of the month. I put down $100, and my mom said if I got enough to pay for half of the driver's ed, she would pay for the other half. So I need to pay $160 more to pay for half of my part.
That's good. That's a good deal. So if anybody has any work they need done, if Connor hasn't found a job yet, you have somebody you can pay now
Yeah.
to get that work done, because boy wants to get himself some driver's ed. Yeah, well, keep it up, man. That's good. It's nice once you have your driver's license, you get a little bit of freedom. Just don't abuse it. As your uncle, I say, don't abuse your freedom.
No.
I don't know. It's in my family. It's either you go completely crazy or you're totally lame, and I went the lame route. So, as far as me, what's new with me? I'm gonna ask myself, what's new with me?
What's new with you, Chris?
What's new, Scooby-Doo?
That's a good show. You ever watch Scooby-Doo movies? Not the movies themselves, but the It was a 70s like Scooby Doo show where they had guest stars on and like Sonny and Cher and the Harlem Globetrotters and stuff.
No.
No. Oh wait, I think I might know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was pretty random, but I always thought those episodes were funny. Yeah, there's not a lot new with me. Still working 2 jobs right now. Second job on the weekends. But the kind of, I don't know if I've mentioned this on here already, but the one kind of fun thing about the second job is we kind of do on-call work. So we'll get called up to do something at a store. And in Washington State, that could be anywhere from Tacoma to Seattle to Bellingham, which is all the way up north, to much further south, not all the way to Vancouver. But so we end up going all over the place. And because it's on call, we usually will take our own vehicle, and then we can just kind of kill time. A lot of times we'll kill time because we could get another call while we're out and about. And instead of going home, you'd rather be somewhere in the area or en route to another store. So we'll stop and hit different stores that we see, like usually thrift stores and like video game stores and stuff like that. And that's been pretty fun because both Jasmine and I like to thrift, so we do it together. This job, so we both like to thrift, so we'll hit up stores, and it's been fun for the collector in me and the person that likes to find good deals. Because more than anything, I tend to find like controllers and stuff usually in decent shape, but the majority of the controllers you see are Xbox 360 controllers, and they're not usually in decent shape. They're usually thrashed or gross. The other day I went to a store and it was just like the board from the controller and then the cases, like separately. They were in a bag, but it wasn't together. It wasn't like sealed or anything else. Like,
what's the board of the controller?
like the
circuit board?
The circuit board. There you go. Yeah, like it was just totally separate, but almost like purposely, like they took it apart and put it in the bag like that.
Man, if they'll take that, I have a controller to sell to Value Village.
I mean, they'll take anything, and then charge way too much for it. Yeah, that's the one thing with thrift stores that drives me absolutely nuts. They get everything on donation, and then like I understand like they still need to make some money to pay employees and stuff, but when you get something on donation and you're charging like $1,000 for it, it's just like, come on, guys.
What's $1,000 there?
The stuff behind the counter, like I've seen them put like really rare or expensive shoes, or like other like electronics and stuff. Like $1,000 is probably overkill, but I've seen stuff for hundreds of dollars.
Well, I was gonna say because I think Alex posted something in the Discord today that was a turntable.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said, don't trust that Central Tacoma Goodwill because they have been on something for like 10 years and they think all their electronics are worth a ton of money. Like I went to when I moved in, this was 7 years ago. I moved in and I went to the South Tacoma Goodwill and they had every CRT was $20, right?
Yeah. So that's all right. Flat pricing is.
And I got a good Sony CRT TV.
Yeah.
And then I went over to the Central one and they were like 50 to 60. This guy thought they were, made of gold or something. And I was like, what is going on?
10 years ago, they really weren't. Now, they've gone up in value because of, a lot of collectors, people who want to watch VHS or play like old school video games. They have more value, but other than like a few select types, most still aren't worth nearly that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but that's been fun. I don't know if that's really like new, but it's something that we've done a lot. The other thing that I'm kind of obsessed with right now, and I'll probably talk about this more in the next Collector's Edition episode, but is I've always checked OfferUp pretty regularly for stuff just in case something pops up, but I've been a little bit more into like the free side of OfferUp where people are just giving stuff away, and you can get some really like crazy stuff people just giving away. And it's usually because they're moving and they're just like, I don't want to deal with it, just take it. Like I got a whole box of like 100 DVDs the other day. Of course, I'm not keeping most of them, but I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I took them. So that's called hoarder mentality. I wanted to keep some. I figured I'd give some away, maybe sell some. I don't know, but it's just crazy the stuff people give away. We were in Renton the other day, and somebody posted in the free section a PS5 controller. And it was because it wasn't working.
Was it James?
No, yeah. Just take them all. I refuse to use them. Yeah, but he was just giving it away. And then when I went and met him, he was like, yeah, I'm having trouble getting the stick to work. He's like, it might be an easy fix. I don't know. And I haven't messed with it yet. But he was even like, I don't care if you fix it and sell it. He's like, I just don't want to deal with it. So he was like, I already replaced it. He was like, just take it. So I was like, all right. And like, my goal is to keep it, and I've hooked it up and like tried to see if it'll work, and it doesn't drift, but it has issues. I can't figure it out. So I'm going to take it apart and try to clean it and see if that fixes it. But I just got that a couple days ago. But yeah, man, free OfferUp listings they're something else. They're fun. It's just fun to see what people give away. I'm trying to get more camping gear, and just trying to see what I can get for free while I have the opportunity. But other than that, for me, definitely not a lot going on. Still kid free, still working 2 jobs, still live in the same place. Yeah, so let's move on. So the goal here, like I said, was to not have too long of an episode, and we're going to talk about what we've been playing. But one last thing before we get into that is we're going to talk about some of the games we're looking forward to playing. Maybe it's a game that we've had on the backlog for a long time and we're excited just to get to for the first time, or it's a game that was just announced that's coming out sometime in the near future and we're looking forward to it. So let's go ahead and talk about that for a little bit. So, Joel, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Monster Hunter Wilds.
That's 2025?
It's in 2025. I think they said it was Q1 or whatever.
Q1 would be literally Q1? Or does 2025 not start until March for these companies?
I think when they say 2025, they might mean 2025. Q1, I believe that's from January to March.
Okay.
Now, you know what? Now you're making me rethink it. Maybe I was totally wrong about that.
I don't know.
All they said was 2025, but it looks really cool. I think they showed a trailer on the PlayStation showcase.
They did.
Was that where they showed it?
Yeah. Wait, was it the video game?
They showed 2 trailers, I think.
The Summer Fest.
They showed one, and then they showed another one.
Yeah,
but
there was
all
a lot
I know
of stuff
is
that happened.
Yeah, all I know is you guys didn't talk about it at all. On
Yeah,
your
I'm not
episode.
excited
You
for
guys were
it.
just like whoosh, gone over. But it looks super cool.
This is Joel's opportunity to add to the last episode.
I'm just waiting for the Monster Hunter episode where I'll just talk. You can mute yourself, and I'll just talk for 2 hours.
Just doesn't even need a response.
I'll be like, yeah, Chris. Anyways, so the other thing. But no, this game looks super cool. I like Monster Hunter that they it's a very basic idea. It's very simple. It's in the name, right? But
monsters. I
think they always come up with something new and fun and different. So it's always worth, checking out their new game.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So Monster Hunter has 2 teams that work on their games. So they have an A team and a B team. And then, so this is the team that made Monster Hunter World and then the expansion for that. And then they took a break and the other team made Monster Hunter Rise, which was the one for the Switch.
Okay.
So you can kind of see that they have these different ideas of what the game is. And that's kind of a cool thing, I think. Because I don't know that many other franchises that use 2 teams. I know Call of Duty does it, but they kind of just...
Pokemon does too. But
Pokemon does too? What?
Yeah. It's not always to as much success.
Well, yeah, the funny thing about Monster Hunter is the 2 teams don't always agree on things. So, like, the way the weapon damage looks... So, on Team A, when you have a greatsword, the weapon damage will be, like, 1,400. And they'll just change whatever it is, like, oh, it's a small blade, that's a 300 damage, and so it'll be variable across this wide range of numbers. And then Team B doesn't think that's a good idea, and so the greatsword will have 200 damage, and the small sword and shield will have 200 damage. And I think it's kind of a funny thing that they allow that to happen.
Yeah, that is interesting. They just give them that much freedom in their development.
They just have this really big disagreement there. I don't know how it works.
So I have a question. As a Monster Hunter, noob, or I've played a couple of them, but I've not been able to get in them. Is World and then the new one Wilds, are they... you've mentioned they're different teams and they have some differences. Do they play vastly different from each other too, but still within the same vein?
I wouldn't say it. So World, the same team that made World made Wilds, right? So they made World 2017. They made the expansion to that, and then they took 6 years to make Wilds, right?
Yeah.
And then the team that made Rise, they just wait, what was the question?
How different are the games?
They're not that much different. It seems like the B team that makes Rise, and I'm not saying B team because they're worse. they like to put more special moves and stuff. You'd have to play them to kind of know the difference. Like World seems to, they go for more of a standpoint of they like the ecosystem, so where you can see all the little monsters, and they seem to be a bit more ambitious in what kind of game they're trying to make.
Okay.
Whereas Rise is like, this is combat against monsters where you're gonna have a good time playing this. This is fun stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's when you're really into a series, you can kind of see the differences in that and appreciate them in a way. But
It's nice that they even have two different series in the same series, like to kind of give you a little bit of a versatility as you continue to play them.
yeah, because it is something that you can put your own spin on no matter what. Because I think the series, if they weren't really good at making these games, the series would have died like a long time ago. It would have been like, oh yeah, that was boring. That was on the PS2, you know.
Yeah.
So they are always trying to invent something new and keep it going, keep it fresh, keep it fun, because, you know, fighting the same monsters over and over is inherently
Repetitive.
boring. It gets boring, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
So yeah, but they've kept it going for this long, so, you know,
Yeah.
they must be onto something.
I know. Well, I should say I know. I'm pretty strong believer that if I would have played the Monster Hunter games when they started coming out on PSP, that I probably would have really gotten into it. But trying to get into it much later and then not being able to set. I always have friends that play it, like obviously you and Eric and Jordan and other friends too. They all play it, but it never works where you're either on the same time at the beginning, or when you are on the same time, you're always much lower level, and then it's like you're constantly further behind, and it's also not fun. I've always struggled with being at a place where it was fun to play with anybody else, I guess. And
Yeah, that's definitely something that can happen. I know the latest and greatest one that they made before this, Sunbreak, they introduced like a AI companion. Like, so you would just hire people from the story to come along and fight with you. And it worked a lot better than I thought. Like, I was like, oh, it's actually better than random people online sometimes, because random people online just will, like, the whole thing. One of the basic parts of Monster Hunter is you have 3 lives for the whole quest, but it's shared by everybody. That's if you have 2 players or if you have 4 players. Someone can only die 3 times.
okay,
So you can kind of see how if you have someone who is not as careful as the others, you'll be like,
and they'll be frustrating.
yeah, you'll be like, oh, this guy, he just died.
Bro.
Bro, you just died twice. Now we only have 1 death left. You know, like,
Bro, go away, bro.
yeah, that's kind of how the game has gone for a long time. So in a way, the AI companions are sometimes
worse.
better.
Are better.
No, they're better because they don't die as easily.
They actually run when there's danger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They use potions. It's crazy.
I love the concept of the game, but it is not something that unless maybe I got really into it finally at some point, it's not something I see myself ever playing solo. So by the time, whenever I've tried to play it, and I think most people that get into it, maybe you can, say whether this is true or not, but it seems like most people who are really into it are totally fine playing solo sometimes and leveling up and getting the gear to start moving up in the game.
It's not that hard. I play solo a lot of times.
I think that's the thing, is I just don't like it enough to play solo, so I'd never... Because I bought Rise, then I bought the first one that came to Switch, Generations,
Oh yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
And both times, it was the same thing both times. Like, other friends bought it, and I would end up falling really far behind, so by the time I'd get with them, the monster would be dead in like 2 minutes, and I'm like, this is boring. But I know that's not how it's supposed to be played, but I'm constantly struggling to find the thing to make it click when I play Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So you don't have a fix, is what you're saying.
I don't know how to help you with that.
Get good, that's all I'm hearing.
No, your friend is good. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, they're much better than me. I think have I ever played with you? I know Eric. I've played with Eric and Jordan and Carter and a couple others, but like I said, I'm always just super far behind. I don't know. Monster Hunter's that one series so far that eludes me, that I feel like I should like, but I just haven't been able to get it.
Maybe the new one,
Maybe.
You never know.
Well, I will say World always looked... Well, because it looks more like a AAA game. And in turn, it looks better, just,
Oh, yeah.
just by the simple facts. And but I never played it, but I always kind of wanted to. But you liked World?
Oh yeah, World was great. I played a lot of World. I played a lot of Rise. I had fun with both. So
You just like the series.
yeah, I'll play all of them.
Yeah. Well, maybe when this new one comes out, I'll try again.
Try it. Try it.
Third time's the charm. All right. Anything else you're looking forward to on the horizon, or things that you want to go back to?
UFO 50. I know
Oh, that game looks good. Yeah.
you guys talked about it a bunch, and James said he saw it before me, but I want to make a correction that he did not, and I've been looking forward to the game for years. Thank you. Thank you.
He mentioned it on the Discord before you, is what it was.
No, he said it on the podcast, didn't he? He said I saw this trailer before Joel did.
Oh. He's not here to defend himself. I'm gonna answer and assume that he meant he saw it on he saw the video before you, rephrase. He mentioned it on the Discord before you.
Maybe because I was working that day, so I didn't see it.
That's probably what he meant. But nonetheless, now Joel has beef with you, James. Good job. Should have kept your mouth shut. No. That game looks really good. Did you see the trailer for that, Connor?
No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Wow, Connor, you're falling behind. Listen, you gotta listen to the episode, and then the second you hear us talk about something, you gotta watch the YouTube video for it. No, I'm just messing with
I
you.
don't even think I watched the episode.
Wow, and you're here right now?
You're not caught up.
This is insulting.
I watch it when I'm playing games or mowing the lawn, and I just haven't.
Wow.
I've been listening to music that's been coming out recently when
My
I do those
feelings
things.
are shattered right now. Just playing, it's fine. Anyway, look up the video for it. It looks really cool. What else, Joel? Anything else?
No, actually, I don't have one. 2025 games? I'm trying to think.
GTA 6.
Joel loves Grand Theft Auto.
Not really.
Well, you can think. If something pops up, you can shout it.
I can't think of one on the spot. I don't know.
So for me, I don't really need to talk too much about what's coming up that I'm looking forward to because I'm on the podcast all the time, and that kind of happens naturally. Obviously, I'm really looking forward to the Nintendo World Championship game that comes out here in a couple weeks, and the new Zelda game looks awesome, and I'm really excited for that. Kind of what I want is to the games that I have in my backlog, games that I want to go back to, maybe that I've started or I just haven't played yet, that I'm looking forward to trying to get to this year, and that's Mega Man Legends, which I did start this year. I got really far, and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, and I kind of fell off. I need to go back and finish it, because I want to say I'm probably 3/4 of the way done with that game. And I really enjoyed what I played, but I should have tried to push to finish it before Rebirth came out, and I didn't push hard enough, and it has since fallen to the wayside. So I'm like 3 months out now from when I started, or even more probably. But I really liked that game, and I want to go back to it and finish it here soon. Another game that I started that I want to finish now is Eiyuden Chronicles, because I started that almost right after I finished Rebirth, and it was just another RPG, and I played probably 10-15 hours and really enjoyed what I played, but I was just kind of like, I'm struggling with paying attention to another big game right now. So I instead moved on to other smaller stuff, and I need to go back to it and finish it because I was really excited for it, and I really enjoyed what I played so far. And I'm a huge fan of the Suikoden series, and it's the spiritual successor to that series. So I really need to finish it so that I can see a lot of people that I follow that are really into RPGs have really enjoyed it. So I need to finish it before something gets spoiled for me. And then lastly, I want to start this year the first Trials of Cold Steel game. I bought it recently for Vita because I wanted to play it on there. And I mean, I just bought it in the last couple months, I think. But I've never played one. Literally anybody that I respect, like with their RPG opinions, I believe even you, Joel, have like, I remember one of the first times we talked after one of the first podcast episodes you did, I think we talked about how much you like the series. Like, I really want to play these games. I've just struggled with like finally sitting down to start it, but I feel like the Vita is the right place for me to play it. Vita or Switch probably would have been the best place so that I can actually play it on the go and actually get more into it. But I'm really looking forward to starting it because once I started it, I have plenty of games to play in a much bigger universe or world.
My advice for the Trails games would be just look at a guide on game FAQs because that always helps. And especially on the earlier games, they have a lot of stuff you can just miss right away.
Okay.
And there's no reason to miss that stuff. Like, you know how a game has like, oh, this thing's missable, but if you played it again, you'd know. And it's like, well, I'm not going to play a 50-hour RPG again.
Yeah, no, it's good to know because when I was 15, 16, like really into RPGs back then, like I would pride myself on not using a guide, just finishing, figuring everything out on my own. That's been 20 years and time is more fleeting. And I've also realized that I didn't finish as many games back then because I would get frustrated and give up. I don't do that anymore. Not with RPGs or anything where there's a lot of missable stuff. I'll use a guide if it makes more sense because I probably won't play through it a second time. There are exceptions, but it's more few and far between with these longer games. Short games where I won't use a guide. I'll play through it, and if I like it enough, I'll play through it again to clean up anything I missed. But no, that's good to know because I've heard these Trials games are really long. So
yeah, they're long. They have a lot of stuff that you could miss the first time, and it's like, dude, I'm not coming back for a second time.
When you have, just in the Cold Steel series, I have 3 more to play after I finish the first one, and then they have all the branch off games, prequels and sequels and other stuff in the same universe. So like if I actually want to play them all, I don't have time to replay them all multiple times to get all the stuff I missed.
Yeah, I think I'm still in the middle of Cold Steel 1, so I fell off at some point. And got to get back into it. So
well, we'll see. Now the challenge is who beats it first.
Who beats it first?
Well, I beat it before Joel, and he's been playing it for years.
I'll beat it before both of you.
Do it. No, now it's a triple challenge. Connor, now you've thrown the gauntlet down. You gotta live up. So the next time Connor's on the episode, we'll have to ask him, did you beat Trials of Cold Steel before Chris and Joel?
I don't even know what that is.
You'll have to find out and then beat it.
You have your work cut out for you.
Have to become a pro in a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. And you got to get ready to read a lot because it's an RPG. Though it probably has voiceover. All right, so that's kind of it for me. There's other stuff coming out that I am looking forward to. Alan Wake 2 getting a physical. I'm finally going to play that this year. I pre-ordered it the other day. And then, obviously Metroid Prime 4, but that doesn't have a release date. But those are the big ones for me. What about you, Connor? Anything that you haven't played that you want to go back to, that you're looking forward to for the future?
Yeah, there are definitely a couple games. A couple weeks ago, I know I was talking about this with you in the car, there was an announcement for A Quiet Place game, the horror movie stuff, called A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. The trailer looked really fun. It looks like it's going to be really fun. I don't do horror games very well, but I do like them.
Yeah. And you like the movies, yeah?
Yeah, I saw the day one Sunday with some friends. It was really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but the first movie I liked a lot. The second one was okay. But so I'm assuming I don't know that I even knew there was a game coming out, but is it literally kind of like the movies where the whole goal is to like traverse and do things quietly?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it looked like.
Is it a VR game or not? It seems like the kind of game that would work well in VR.
I don't think it's a VR game. I think it's just going to be like a normal game.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. I literally had no idea until you'd mentioned it earlier that there was a Quiet Place game coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you end up playing it, you'll have to let us know what you think of it. Anything else you're looking forward to?
Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I pre-ordered that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the pre-order bonus.
What's the pre-order bonus?
It's like a little, like a packet that like explains how Shadow was created or something like that, and that seemed pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. I love Sonic merch that I don't need. I might have to pre-order that because I loved Sonic Generations. When we did the Sonic episode, we talked about that, and both of us had it in our top 3 Sonic games. And Generations is, I think a lot of people like it, but I still think it's underappreciated overall. And the Sonic X Sonic Shadows. Sonic
it's like
X Shadow
Sonic
Generations?
X Shadow Generations. Sonic Shadow. I'm not really sure.
Sonic Cross Shadow. That looks good though. Anything else?
I was thinking about if I was going to put this game on currently playing or going to go back to, but I think I'm going to put it here. Persona 3 Reload.
Okay.
I was playing that for a while, but then my Xbox Game Pass ran out, so I couldn't play it anymore.
Yeah.
It's a really expensive game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like $60+ probably because it's still new. Yeah, I played Persona 3. Those games are fun. I love I think I've talked about this before, but I love like the relationship building aspect of those games more than like any other aspect. Like I'm sure there's a game out there that I haven't played that is just for me when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I love like building up the bonds between the different companions you get in the game and just the random people and getting more backstory and in turn raising your bond and your persona levels. It's a really cool feature. Yeah, so that's it for you? What you want to get back to or what you want to play in the future?
There's one game that I totally forgot I was going to talk about. Funko Fusion is coming out sometime. I don't know when, but it looked pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I know you'd mentioned on the last episode, well, not on the last episode, but in the comments for the last episode that you were looking forward to that game. What can you explain what kind of game it is? Do you know?
It looks kind of like, I don't know, kind of like maybe Disney Infinity from what I saw.
Kind of where you bring in different characters and you kind of play levels with people from different universes.
Yeah.
It looks pretty wacky. Like, I'm not a Funko guy. Like, I have one Funko. Well, I guess I have a couple Funko Pops, but it's because I found them at Goodwill's.
I have a lot of Funko Pops.
Do you? I don't know that I knew that you liked Funko Pops that much.
I have the whole Mega Man, all of the Mega Man Funko Pops. I have the Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker Funko Pop.
That's actually really cool. I didn't know there was a line of Mega Man ones. That's cool. The only Funko Pops I really want are the Titan Pops from Attack on Titan, but they're expensive. So
Titan Pops.
Yeah, I know that sounds funny. Titan Pop, but they did like from the different Titans from Attack on Titan, the Colossus Titan and Armor Titan and whatever else. They would be cool to have because they're not the small ones; they're bigger size, but they're expensive. Most of them are, at least.
I have a Bob Ross Funko Pop.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
You're a big Bob Ross fan?
I do like him, but
Happy Trees.
my sister lives in Everett, which is actually, they have a headquarters in Everett.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah.
she got us a Funko Pop.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it was Bob Ross.
I guess if you live in Everett, that's what you do now, right?
That's what you do. You go
Funko
straight
Pops
to
as gifts
Funko,
to
and
people.
I don't know what else they do there. They just go to Funko.
An Aqua Sox game. That's it. We were in Everett for work the other day, and it's actually a nicer. Like, I never really spent much time there, but like driving, we drove up one street. Well, the GPS took us up one street to get to the freeway, and I was like, it's really nice here, actually. Like, maybe not all areas, but the area we were in, off the water, like.
Yeah, my dad said he likes Everett more than Tacoma, and he's from Tacoma.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's something.
Those are words you just said, Father.
I was like, I don't know how to feel about that.
I don't know anything about Everett. Like, they have a couple of cool game stores there, but other than that, like, I haven't spent too much time there. Back one more game that I do want to play here soon. I forgot about, but talking about Attack on Titan reminded me that there's an Attack on Titan game coming to VR. And it's coming in early access next month to Quest, the Oculus Quest. I think the couple of newest ones, but Jasmine has an Oculus Quest because she likes Beat Saber. So I'm going to buy it and play it on there. It looks pretty bad, like graphically. Like the Titans look really weird, like, which they already look kind of weird anyway. But it doesn't look great but it is early access, so they could update stuff in the future. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to trying that game. So it's only $5 for the first 2 chapters, I guess. So I'm gonna give it a try. I never play. I mean, I don't know that I've ever played her Oculus actually, but it's something to do. But let's go ahead and move into our main topic for the day, which is just going to be talking about what we've been playing.
Just games we've been playing.
Yep, we're not going to spend a bunch of time talking about other fluff. We're just going to talk about what we've been playing, and we're going to start with Joel.
All right.
What have you been playing recently, man?
Okay, so first on my list. Did you talk about this game? Okay, do you remember the game Deep Rock Galactic?
Oh, yeah, that game's great.
Okay, were you talking about that game? That was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
I loved that game.
yeah. the name is so forgettable that I had to look it up like 3 times. Like I'm like Deep Rock, I'm bored, right? So I've been playing this game called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor.
Oh, so it's like a spin-off game?
So yeah, it's a spin-off game. I got it on the Steam store. It was like $7. And it's basically do you know the game Vampire Survivors?
Yeah, I've never played it, but it's where like the constant swarm of stuff's coming at you and you're trying to kill them with...
Yes, exactly. So it's basically ripping off that game wholesale, but they put a little more game into it. So like, I don't know. I'm like, I've been having a ton of fun with it. Maybe I'll get bored at some point, but it's kind of like a good popcorn of a game. Like if you relate games to food, which I do a lot, it's like the fancy popcorn, right? The good movie theater popcorn.
Oh.
Because like
it's the good stuff.
It's the good stuff.
Extra butter.
Right? So like, do you know how Vampire Survivors works?
I've watched people play it, but I don't like. I've never played it, so I only know so much.
It's a new genre. It's the newest genre. If you're into video games, you need to know, right?
I need to play it.
It's totally ridiculous. So the game is, the original game. It's like they took sprites from free sprite sites. You know, like, oh, this kind of looks like Castlevania a little bit, and here's some zombies and stuff. And you always have enemies heading towards you, and almost a 360 view. They're just coming from all sides. And you have an auto attack. So your only input in this game is moving. That's it.
Yeah.
And and this is both the original game and Deep Rock Galactic rip-off game, which is great. I don't mean to disparage it by calling it a rip-off. But so you're beating these enemies around you, and it's a push and pull between you need to collect those experience things, and you get level ups all the time. Like, so you play this game for 30 minutes, you get to level 50 or whatever.
Oh,
and each level up, you pick, a path, like a power up. And that's basically it. So you're always running from giant swarms of enemies. You're blasting, in Deep Rock Galactic, you're blasting bugs like crazy.
Yeah.
Which, that's just fun, right?
Yeah.
I don't, so your Deep Rock Galactic, the only thing it changes is there's rocks. There's what would you call it? So it's top down, I know, and then there's rocks around there that you mine through, and that kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer between you and the bug swarms. But I don't know how to explain it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of little gamey things, like you upgrade this, you move that around, and by the time you finish a 30-minute run, you kind of don't want to play again. But then the next day, you want to play again. That's how it works.
I'm ready to go back.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard like nothing but good things about Vampire Survivor, and I know that other games in that same genre have been coming out, but I haven't played any of them.
So yeah, Vampire Survivor is funny because you're supposed to survive for 30 minutes, and by the time you get to the end, there's just stuff all over the screen. Like the hordes are coming in the thousands, and you're blasting like 10 or 20 different power-ups around you, and it's very funny. It's almost like taking the idea of a video game to this absurd level where you're just like and it's very like satisfying in a way, because you've lost in the past, but you're like, these power-ups, this is it, man. Like,
I got this.
I got any amount of zombies, I'm blasting them. Or I don't even know what the enemies in.
So it still has like a rogue-like type feel to it, because
So,
that's the whole thing
yes.
of a rogue game.
So both in Vampire Survivors and Deep Rock Galactic, you slowly level up certain things, but it's like it's very incremental. It's like, oh, I got this amount of minerals, so my attack goes from 6% to 9%. Just stupid little stuff like that. But Deep Rock Galactic has a lot of it has 4 different what would you say, classes, which play differently enough to make it fun. You know what I mean, where a game mixes it up enough to make it fun each time you play.
Yeah.
So
that's what makes roguelike games fun, is the fact that it's always just a little bit different than the time before.
Exactly, and it is a roguelike, and I'm a roguelike liker, I think, after this, because
I'm a real rogueliker.
I'm a rogueliker. But it's funny because after I play one round, I'm always like, I'm done. I'm not playing this again. But sometimes I'll play another round, maybe later in the day, or maybe the next day, and maybe that's the way to play them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key.
No, that's smart. So Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, huh?
I know, what a title, right?
And is it only on Steam right now, or is it like?
I don't know. I didn't check.
I'll have to look. I do need to play one of these games at some point just to like
It's because
finally have type under my belt.
yeah. So to play because Deep Rock Galactic, the original game, is just I don't even know what it is.
It's like a first-person survival game.
yeah, it's like a multiplayer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know about that at all, but definitely give it a try. I don't know if it's on anything else. It's great on a Steam Deck. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So.
I'll have to look into it just because I've wanted to try that type of game before. So
Buttered popcorn.
I know Vampire Survivor is on phone.
It's free on the phone.
Vampire Survivor is?
So if you want to try it, yeah.
I'll have to give it a go. So it's got the stamp of approval from Joel, though. I almost said from Joe.
From Joe, yeah, that's me. Oh, definitely, yeah. I've had a lot of fun.
All right.
Haven't gotten bored yet. So
That's something.
You know.
Well, I'll go next. Was it the last episode? Yeah, no. A couple episodes ago, I talked about I've been playing Pokemon Crystal on my 3DS on the Virtual Console because my whole goal was that I wanted to soft reset for a shiny Mew. Well, thank you, Jaden, for correcting my flub. I wanted to soft reset for a shiny Celebi. I knew it was Celebi, but I kept saying Mew anyway. So yeah, the whole point that I want to do it is because I want to do a ribbon journey, but I want to grab some Pokemon from these earlier games and bring them all the way up to the modern gen before they have a chance to shut down Pokemon
Home.
Transfer on the 3DS, because at some point they'll shut it down. Everything else on the 3DS is shut down. And I want to be able to bring some of this stuff up before you don't have the chance to do it anymore. And Pokemon Crystal, I guess. So a little backstory for anybody who doesn't know. Pokemon Crystal was the third game in the Pokemon Silver and Gold series. So just like Pokemon Red and Blue had Pokemon Yellow as its kind of like catch-all final game in Gen 1, Crystal was Gen 2's version of that. Some of the cool things that Crystal did in comparison to Gold and Silver was it was the first game to be natively in color. So Gold and Silver were Game Boy Color games, but not like... Because for the Game Boy, there was the Game Boy Color games that could still play on the Game Boy, and then there were the Game Boy Color games that could only play on the Game Boy Color. And it was that kind. It was natively Game Boy Color. So it had slightly better sprite work, slightly better art and coloring, and it was the first game in the series to add animation to the sprites. So you actually would see when a Pokemon would get sent out for the first time, they would do little movements and little things to kind of set them apart from more than just a static sprite. It was a really fun game. I was always a big fan of Gen 2, always have been. I played Silver back when it first came out, and then I ended up getting Crystal when I was a kid still. Because I loved that gen a lot, and Crystal, I don't know why I wanted it or why I talked my parents into it, but I did get Crystal back in 2001 when it came out, and I loved that game. So I bought it on the eShop before they closed the eShop down, because I wanted to have the option to play it if I wanted to easily. I still have my copy of Crystal, but the battery's dead in it, so I need to get the battery replaced. But it's still nice to have it on my 3DS so I can play it. But like I said, you can transfer your Pokemon from this copy onto the 3DS games. So Sun and Moon or X and Y. And then you can transfer those up to Pokemon Home so you can use them on the modern games. So I've been playing through it. And then I finished it a couple weeks back. I finished the Elite Four at least. So that's part A of the game. And for anybody who doesn't know, Gen 2 was probably one of the coolest in the fact that once you finished the Elite Four and finished all of the Johto region of gyms in that part of the game, it opened up the Kanto region, which was the region from the original games, Pokemon Red and Blue. So you can then go and fight those 8 gyms and do new things in that area that were different from when you would play through Red and Blue. And then you could fight the Elite Four again and they'd be higher leveled. So I haven't done that part of the game yet. I've only finished the Elite Four, but by doing that, I unlocked the GS Ball, which allows me to try to catch Celebi. And I wanted to catch Celebi because it's the only game in which you can soft reset for a shiny Celebi. So that's what I'm doing right now. So it's soft resetting, for anybody who doesn't know, if you want a shiny Pokemon, is tedious. And it's just something that you do in the background while you're watching TV or doing something else because it is monotonous and there's no point to it other than you just want a different colored sprite for your Pokemon. It's completely and utterly like, it's probably the epitome of vain when it comes to Pokemon because there's no point to it other than you just want it to look different than the rest. But that was my goal. Is I wanted to get this. It's the only game that you can soft reset for a shiny Celebi in. As far as I know, the only other way to get a shiny Celebi would have been from events that they'd done throughout the years.
So it's not shiny locked?
It is not shiny locked. So, yeah. So that's what I've been doing that. Like I said, I finished Elite Four, then I moved on to that aspect of it, and I tend to just do like a handful of soft resets a night, and then go back to other things. It takes a while, so it's hard to focus too much time on it. But that all being said, Gen 2 is still my favorite gen. I love Gen 2. I still think that they've yet to capture how cool the idea was of finishing one game's new journey of their 8 gyms and the Elite Four, and then being able to go back to the original 8 gyms or the last 8 gyms and fight them again and have like a whole second game's worth of content basically. I've played every Pokemon game to date and none of them have done something that cool to me. They all have their features and stuff, and most of them are fun for one reason or another, but I still think Gen 2 really nailed the replayability and how cool the end game content was in it. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of it. I've been playing less of it recently, but I love Pokemon Crystal. Like I said, I still have my original copy of it from the Game Boy Color, but 3DS is definitely the way to play it if you have access to it. Connor, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a game called Ultra Kill recently. It's a first person, really high speed shooter game.
Ultra Kill, man, it's 10 out of 10 on Steam.
It is really fun.
I've never even heard of it. What have you been playing it on your Steam Deck?
Yeah.
We got 2 Steam Deck players here. So it's first person. You said it's ultra fast?
Yeah, it is really fast paced.
Tell us more about it. What do you like about it?
So I really like the selection of guns you can have. You always have one of each type of gun there is, and there's like a pretty decent amount of guns.
So they said it's ultra fast. So I'm reading here that it's a fast-paced first-person shooter with an emphasis on movement. So how does that play into the game?
There's dashes. That like every game you can wall jump. There's other things you can do with like some of the weapons that will boost your movement. I know for the shotgun, if you punch right as you shoot, it will like shoot a rocket version of the shotgun, which is what the left trigger does, but it just does it without having to charge it up. And you can do that really fast and launch yourself, I believe. There's also a slam for when you're like high up in the air, you can slam down. That can also gain you movement along with sliding and stuff.
Interesting. So is it like a multiplayer, like arena shooter, or is it a single player type game? What is it like?
It's a single player game and it's story based. I'm not very sure on the story.
So what are your favorite things about it?
I do like the movement. The movement is fun. I do like that. The level design is really great because all the levels are different because there's like a bunch of different places that you go. There's like 4 levels in one section of a place, and then it goes down. And all of them have really unique styles for how the levels are designed. There's this water level, like this water segment, where for like half of them, you're underwater, but for the last 2 levels, you're above water and doing stuff above water.
It sounds pretty interesting. I've like I said, I've never even heard of it. So it seems like it's just a PC game right now. So you play it on Steam or
I play on my Steam Deck.
Yeah, other aspects of it. So so it might be something worth looking into. Joel, what about you? What else have you been playing?
Oh, what? Oh. All right, hold on. Let me look at my list. Oh, okay. Dragon's Dogma 2.
Ah, yes.
Have you tried this?
Oops.
Oh my gosh.
Can down.
Have you heard of this game?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Oh, you've heard of it? Okay.
I know you were really excited for it when it was coming out.
It's a good game. It's a good time. So did you ever play the first one? Dragon's Dogma 1?
I know that it was Dragon's Dogma, and then there was Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, right?
Dark Arisen. Yeah, that's kind of like I don't know. Capcom likes to do that where they come back to a game and make like expansion pass kind of idea.
Okay. So it wasn't a sequel at all. It was just like more to the original.
It was what DLC has turned into lately. Kind of like let's give you a big expansion pack. Your levels can go up, and
Okay.
here's a new area that's fun, and some new enemies and bosses and stuff like that. The first Dragon's Dogma was just such a deeply weird game. Like the story was just like completely weird. Like, you know how Capcom has kind of accepted that they don't tell normal stories, they tell stories in a almost campy way, you could call it.
They don't like to just follow the same like thread that everybody else follows.
And at this point they do it on purpose. And Dragon's Dogma was definitely one of those where I can't even remember anything specific, but it just got so bizarre at the end. Like,
So it just looks like kind of a run of the mill fantasy RPG.
It really looks like a standard PS3, Xbox 360, whatever that generation is called, whatever number it's called, I forget.
7?
You know, with those brown colors and kind of bland textures. But so they somehow made a second one. And hold on. So I played it. I was excited. I wanted to play it first thing. You know, I bought it when it came out. The second one, I will say first of all, the world's about 4 times bigger. Its environments are much, much bigger than the first one. The combat is pretty similar. The story is still pretty weird. Like, it doesn't always make sense. It just kind of happens to you.
Just kind of marches to the beat of its own drum.
Yeah, exactly. And the combat in it is, I'd say better than the first one. There's some people who disagree, but you kind of, the idea of it is it's almost like if you took the idea of an RPG, or like I guess you would say, especially with the second one, you would say like, do you remember the movie Lord of the Rings?
Wait, what's that movie?
So like when they have some of those battles in Lord of the Rings are so chaotic, like everyone's just slashing swords over here. That's a lot of what that game kind of reminds me of, because you play as the one guy, the Arisen, and then you have your main pawn, and these pawns are people who, and this is in the story of the game, they're not quite people. They're like a story version of an NPC. Like, so your main pawn especially can die, and he'll come right back, and
He just shows back up. Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Well, you have to go to a Riftstone, and my main pawn especially, he'll be very upset that he died. He's like, I just can't believe that I let my guard down. You know, and like, so
That's clever.
so you hire your main pawn who's always with you. So that's you're number 1, your main pawn's number 2, and then number 3 and 4 are just a rotating cast of pawns, because they cannot level up. And this is the same as the first game. So you're casting a wide net. You're going into the pawn internet in the game, and you're like, what do you got? Who do you got? And you'll just hire people because they're funny. Like, I hired a guy who looked like a really buff Gandalf, and that was funny to me. And his name was Gandalf, of course. But
That's hilarious.
like, just any pop culture thing in the last 20 years, there'll be someone who made it in Dragon's Dogma, and that's because your main pawn goes out into the pawnverse, the Riftstone, and that's who people hire your main pawn.
That's funny, man.
So whoever you hire as 3 and 4 is somebody's main pawn.
Somebody created that.
Somebody
out there.
they took time on. There's a couple that are Capcom made, but it's just such a funny idea.
Yeah, that's super unique and very smart too. Like, to get people creative, and
It is fun. It's kind of like, you know, there's definitely some parallels with Monster Hunter. The combat's a little easier. Like Monster Hunter is just kind of really rough sometimes.
Yeah.
And but this game, like, especially, it seems like you almost get over leveled at a certain point, and you're just plowing through the enemies like crazy, which is fun. But yeah, it's just, I would say, so the first 10 hours of this game, you'll think it's the most amazing thing in the world. And then you start to maybe see the flaws a little bit. So that's kind of where I got to the point where I was like, oh, well, you know, I got over leveled on this point, and the enemies stopped being such a challenge. But the environment was always really interesting, which I always think is super important. Like, I don't know, I make fun of Skyrim sometimes
Yeah.
on this podcast sometimes, but
Once or twice.
it does have a cool environment. I will give it that. And like, to me, that's part of the fun of open world games is you have an environment that's fun to traverse. You have quests that are, I don't know, somewhat fun, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they matter, sometimes they don't. And yeah, I had a really good time with Dragon's Dogma 2. I have not beaten it.
Really?
I got probably about halfway through. So
How many hours have you put into it?
I don't know. It's probably a lot. Probably 30, 35.
Okay. I've heard it's a pretty big game.
Yeah, it's pretty big, and there's a certain point where you switch over to a different land, and I just kind of, I guess I just got busy and didn't maintain the interest as much as I could.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing sometimes with bigger games is it can get to a point where you're just like, I need something quick and easy right now.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to those when you only have a little bit of time. Smaller, quicker gameplay experiences make it easier.
But I don't know. I will say there's so much like funny in this game that surprised me and just kind of like there's a thing in the game, and the pawns will all tell you. They're like, oh, I've heard about other pawns. They get something called the Dragon's Plague, and it's basically like an illness that gets transmitted through the pawns, and you can tell it's happening because they'll stop listening to you. Because the whole thing about the pawns is you're the Arisen and they're the pawns. There's like this relationship where they basically worship you. It's really weird.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Like you'll go to a campfire because you're always camping in this game, and they'll just be like, "The Arisen casts a fine shadow from the camp." Like there's this whole ridiculous, like almost old English way they speak in this game. That's so funny, and. So they tell you about this Dragon's Plague. They're like, "Oh, I've heard these tales," and so I'll just relate a funny experience when I was playing the game. Is I hired one of those number 3 or 4s, and this lady was just she kept saying like weird stuff. Like you'd be like, you kind of give this command like, "Oh, follow me, let's group up." And she would start getting really aggressive and be like, "Let me at those enemies." and so this was right when Dragon's Plague, I just heard of it. So I was like, oh man, I was like, I think she might have Dragon's Plague.
I gotta kill her.
And so I gave it a good amount of time, and I was like, no, she's being aggressive. She's not listening to me. She's way over there fighting this enemy. And so I took the NPC off a bridge because, okay, here's another thing about Dragon's Dogma. The water is the most dangerous thing in the world. Like, as soon as you step in the water, you will die.
Oh, wow.
There are monsters in the water. I don't know why. Maybe they explain it at the end of the game, but it's the same way in the first one. So I took this NPC and I threw her right off the bridge. And I had my guy walk away, and my main pawn was like, I was thinking, we should fit a sorcerer in that 4th slot. Just the ridiculous situations you get.
It's like very British humor.
Yeah, because my main pawn they call it a straightforward pawn, and he sounds exactly like Matt Berry.
Oh.
Like he has like a very theatrical way of talking, and I was very much laughing at some of the stuff he had to say was just ridiculous all the time. So
It's a wacky game. It's funny because looking at the cover or even just the videos and stuff they've shown for it, you would never guess that it was so like humorous in its undertone.
Yes, but it's not always intentional. It's just out there. It's being weird.
So it doesn't even know it's funny.
That's a good question, if it knows or if it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I would be curious to know. Like, was this game actually meant to be this funny?
I don't. Yeah. So yeah, the creator of the game, I feel like he's kind of the wild card kind of guy at Capcom. He's probably in his 50s. He's gotten to the point in his career where he can kind of do what he wants.
He's just making stuff up.
Yeah, like he would give interviews and he'd be like, "I'm not doing fast travel in this game. That, I'm making a game that you don't need fast travel." He'd say stuff like that you're like, "Wow, that's a bold thing to say."
All right. Then he puts fast travel in the game.
There is no fast travel.
So you got to go as slow as you can.
There is, but it's a rare resource. And then there's also like you can get on a cart, which is basically fast travel, but it can be interrupted by a griffin or any sort of other enemy, like just ruining your day and coming in there.
I like how Capcom was like, "You've got to put fast travel in the game." He's like, "I don't want to do it."
No.
Fine, a limited item then.
It's a very limited item.
That's funny. Yeah, I've never played either of those games or any of those games, but I've heard from other people well before that it was really good. So I've kind of put it on my list of games to try to go to at some point. I'm not sure that it's my type of game, but it sounds funny, which in turn kind of becomes my type of game.
Well, yeah, and Capcom, I don't know, they put games on sale a lot. So
Yeah, they do.
If you wait a couple years,
You can get it for dirt cheap.
get it for a decent price.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
Oh, let's see. Another game I've been playing. This is a game I'm kind of always playing, but I don't talk about very much. And it's a phone game, and that's Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So I've been playing this game since probably about 2015, I think. It came out just before Force Awakens came out. Have either of you guys ever played it?
I've seen Force Awakens.
The movie. Okay. I asked if you played the game.
Oh, yes, no.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I've downloaded it a couple times, but I never played it for long.
Okay. It's one of those games where it's obviously their whole goal is for you to spend money. But I started it so long ago that I tend to be far enough ahead that I don't ever need to spend money, because at the beginning of the game they wanted you to spend money, but it was more balanced. You could unlock stuff quicker, and you didn't necessarily need to spend if you just would spend a little bit of time to unlock things. And now as the game has gone on, they've kind of figured out a way to master it where you have to spend money on stuff. But because I was an early adapter to it, I don't ever feel like I need to spend money to stay pretty relevant in the game. But yeah, it's a phone game. So phone games in general don't offer a ton of depth. They're not story driven by much. But it is Star Wars, and I love Star Wars. And at the time, like I would eat up anything Star Wars related because I was so excited for what Disney was to provide. The future of Star Wars, getting more movies and the possibility of TV shows and stuff. And however you feel about all that, I was excited. And the game itself has had its ups and downs. Everybody that has played with me over the years has quit. I've had many friends that have come and gone and played it for a bit, played it for a long time, and basically nobody plays it anymore. But it's still fun. I'm in a guild in the game, and nobody I know is in it, but it's a slightly lower level guild, but because I'm a higher level account, I'm able to help them quite a bit with, you have different aspects of the game. You have raids, pretty common in a lot of guild-based phone games, where you can do a raid where you'll do things like, most recently was the Battle of Endor, it wasn't the Battle of Endor, it was the speeder bike chase in Endor. It was kind of a dumb raid. And then the one now is Battle of Naboo that they just released. And then you do things like Territory War, where you work together as a guild to beat another guild, with your different teams that you've built up over the years. So there's not too much to say about it. It's one of those games where if somebody was to say, like, I really want to get into a phone game, what do you suggest? I don't know that I'd suggest this now because it's so far in. Like, I don't see how somebody new to the game could get into it without spending the desire to spend money to try to catch up, which I'm sure they bank on. And there's just a ton of characters. They have just about every Star Wars character you can think of, from the movies, the TV shows, even the expanded universe, and then multiple forms of them from different, movies and stuff. But it is a fun game, and if you like Star Wars and you really want something to play on your phone, it is, maybe at that point it might be worth trying, because the guild aspect of it, if you can play with people especially, and you can work together to beat the raids and to do the territory wars and other aspects of it that you can work together, that is where the game shines, and it's really fun. But other than that, it kind of falls into that phone game category. I used to play a lot more phone games, but this is the only one I play now because I just don't care about them much. And I just don't like the predatory aspect of phone games where their whole goal is to try to take money from you. But I like Star Wars, and at this point, I'm too far in. I'll probably play it until they close it down at some point, but it's still going pretty strong. So, yeah, it was kind of a boring story.
Yeah, it sucked, Chris.
Yeah, man. Like even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, why do I play this game?
What's the takeaway? Why is it worth it?
I don't know that it is.
You don't know? Maybe you need to rethink.
No, it's like I've been playing it so long that it's like I said, it's easy for me to keep playing it because like if I want to unlock it, I have everybody unlocked that's been out for a long time. So when a new character comes out, if I don't have to work that hard to unlock them. Like I don't unlock them fast because I don't pay for the initial aspects of it. But anybody who's been playing it for a while has to decide what's important, like what they want to unlock in the game. So just as an example, say you want to unlock Qui-Gon Jinn, but they, now they just released somebody based off the Acolyte because that's the popular show right now. You have to decide what you want to focus your resources on. Do you want to continue to try to unlock Qui-Gon Jinn, or do you want to go for this new guy they just released? Because I've been playing it so long, I don't have to worry about that as much because all my resources can just go to the new guy because I have everybody else unlocked. That's where I struggle with recommending this game to a new person, because if you don't have anybody unlocked, where do you focus your energy? Like, yes, there are teams that are really good in the game and you can try to focus on one of them, but it's the kind of game where the turnaround is pretty quick. So there is like, the 5 or 10 teams that have kind of been good for a long time and will probably always be somewhat good. But you could easily decide like, I really want to work on this team based off of the crew from A New Hope because I love the first Star Wars movie, Star Wars A New Hope, and you could put all your resources into unlocking them and making that team useful. Because you have to, once you unlock them, you also have to then level them up to, you have to unlock them up to level 7, so then they're fully unlocked. So they're usable at tier 2, but tier 7 is where they have all their stats unlocked, basically. And then, on top of that, you have to gear them up. So there's all these tiers to it. It's a phone game. That's what phone games do. They put all these different aspects in to make all these different ways where you have to put money into it. And that's like I'm saying, if you're just getting into it, I don't know how I would ever say to somebody like, yes, get into this game. You're going to have a lot of fun, because there's way too much going on now. But like I said, I've been playing it since it started basically, so I don't have too much to worry about. Like I'll always be a step behind of the people who pay money to be at the top, but it doesn't take me too long to catch up to them for free. So yeah, I don't know. I probably didn't even need to talk about this, but it's what I've been playing and I never talk about it.
It sounds like you're the hamster in the hamster wheel, and someone just put a mirror beside you.
Yeah, and just watching.
And you're looking, and you're like, this wheel doesn't end.
Wow, this just keeps going. That's kind of what the game is. And there have been times where I've kind of slowed down or even stopped playing it for a while because it just got repetitive and boring. It's when they add new content. Though, like I said, the whole aspect of the game that's fun is when you have a guild and you get to work together towards the common goal of, beating the raid to unlock a new character or working together to do whatever. But when they slow down on that content, the game gets really boring because it's not fun to just unlock characters to fight NPCs that don't matter. It's fun to work together as a guild to beat other people. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a huge advocate for phone games because, they're made to waste time and there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of what video games are in general. But phone games feel very predatory these days. And I don't know. The only reason I keep playing this one is, like I said, because I just have so much time into it that I'm ahead and I still have fun with it most of the time. Though it gets kind of old sometimes. Yeah, well, I'm sorry for wasting everybody's time talking about Galaxy Heroes. Connor, why don't you tell another game you've been playing?
So since you talked about a mobile game, I'm going to talk about a mobile game.
Oh, you can bore us now.
Yeah. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Okay. That's probably not as boring to most people. Because
Yeah.
it's actually a card builder, or deck builder, right?
Mm-hmm. Very much is. I've been playing it for like a year or so. It's fun. but I don't edit my deck very much because I don't understand any other things than just the base Yu-Gi-Oh summoning. I don't understand XYZ. I don't understand any of that other stuff besides just kind of like the base stuff.
Do you ever watch like YouTube videos or anything to try to help?
I watch YouTube videos. They don't help.
So is the problem the YouTube video or that you don't care to learn?
The problem's me.
Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh is one of those things that it came out at that time where I had some friends that were into it, but I didn't get into it myself. And I've just never, like, I tried to play that game when it first came out because I think they released it on PlayStation and Switch as well. And I was just like, I don't get this. Like, there's a lot of different rules in that game, and I just didn't feel like learning them. But deck building is fun usually. Like, I like opening packs, and in real life I like opening packs and building decks, and that game kind of lets you do some of that, open a digital pack and build decks digitally. So even if you don't understand it, what is it that keeps you coming back then?
Usually when I play it, I'll play with one of my friends who has it. He uses probably one of the most annoying decks in the game, a Toon deck,
Oh, okay.
which there are the Toon cards, which are just like the normal cards, but just like cartoons. And they have a card that it's like a field spell, I think, that kind of just makes it so they can't really take damage.
Oh,
So it's not like you can really destroy them. So the thing I've learned to counter that is using a trap card called Magic Cylinder, which will take damage and redirect it back at the opponent directly without attacking a monster.
yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah,
but sounds like a card game.
it does.
So
Pretty much is a card game.
so at the end of the day, you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that matters. Yu-Gi-Oh is super popular. I appreciate that it still has such a big following, because in my mind, until probably the last few years, I kind of thought Yu-Gi-Oh was gone, but it's still just as popular as, maybe not just as popular, but it's still very popular. Still has physical cards. The digital game is really popular. I know as far as like the games that have come out over the years, on Game Boy, DS, and home consoles and stuff, I've always thought it was cool that they came with physical cards. And as far as collecting goes, I know that some of those games are pretty expensive when it comes to trying to get a copy with those cards, because a lot of times they were taken out and used, or abused and thrown away. But well, Connor, the goal here is that you get so good that you make it to the Yu-Gi-Oh Championships, the heart of the cards, right?
Mm-hmm. Summon all 5 pieces of Exodia.
Yeah. And then you'll come back on and tell us how stupid we were for not jumping on and playing after you talked about it.
Yeah.
Well, Joel, back to you. What else have you been playing?
All right, I'm gonna do a twofer.
Twofer. That's good, because I only have one more.
You only have one. What?
Yeah. You guys are going to be talking for a bit after this.
Okay, I got a lot more. So this one, I don't know how much there is to say about this. So Dark Forces Remastered.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play this?
I haven't, but I plan on it when the physical comes out.
Oh my god! The Switch version is worse, right?
I won't buy it on Switch. I'm going to buy it on PlayStation.
Okay, good. So it's I played this game, I think, when I was like 12 years old originally. It came out in 94.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Something like that. It's pretty old. Man, it's a good time. I like this game a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of very inspired by the game Doom, because it came out a couple years after that. So it's super fast-paced, first-person shooter, Star Wars. Everything's Star Wars. That's the fun part.
That's the whole goal.
It's funny playing it because when I was a kid and I played it, have you played it?
I talked about it a little bit in the last episode. I've tried it, but I only ever had it on PlayStation, and the PlayStation version was not good.
Ooh, yeah, I heard that was a really bad version.
Yeah, so I never had it on PC or anything, so I've never actually played it.
Yeah. Oh, man. So yeah, I played it when I was a kid, and the sewer level was just too much for me. Because old first-person shooters, they have their level design is like a labyrinth, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really go.
And everything looks the same.
Everything looks the same. They'll go up, down, around. The map will kind of help, maybe sometimes not.
Yeah.
So I remember just doing that sewer level and playing it as a kid, and I might have beat it, but I was just like, whew, this is too much game for me. It took me forever.
Hanging up my coat.
Yeah. And so it's really funny to play it now because I pretty much figured out the sewer level and I was like, oh, I got this. And I was like, oh, I'm at the end. I'm done.
You were almost done with
I
the
was
game
like,
and
my-
you never finished
My
it. Huh?
spatial awareness has improved, I guess. But yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know why. You know, when you're a kid, you just quit a game. You're just like, whew, oh boy, no.
I can't do this.
I'm done with that. Back to Mario.
Yeah, yeah. That game, I always wanted to play that game, and I have played Jedi Knight, which was the sequel, and I played Jedi Knight 2, the Jedi Outcast.
The double sequel.
Yeah, I've never played Dark Forces though, so I am excited to play this version of it, so I can finally have it under my belt. Because I think Kyle Katarn is a super cool character. So
Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis is also a cool character.
Kyle Katarn.
Kyle Kestis.
There's not much character for him in that game though. He's
Is
just
there
kinda, not? It's just the mission briefings. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
I'm not surprised that there's not too much, because I mean, being an earlier first-person shooter like
Yeah.
that, they're not going to add too much depth to it.
I'm gonna blast 300 stormtroopers and get out of here.
And I'm good at it.
It's got a 3D ship though. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Your ship comes and picks you up, and it's all 3D. Man,
The future.
the future. So the second game I have is Animal Well.
Ah, yes. The ever popular Animal Well
So-
that everybody was talking
Yeah,
about.
this game kind of blew up for a second. So I bought it when it came out because I like puzzle games, and this looked right up my alley. So this is a Metrovania game.
If you guys could see it, he almost imploded just saying that.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a Metroidvania puzzle type game. So you're kind of a little bit of Metroid, a little bit of Castlevania. No, I'm just kidding. There's no combat in this game.
It's just a search and explore game.
A search and explore, a look around, a look 'em up. Yeah. But you definitely you have kind of a map screen that you really have to stare at because some of the rooms are hidden from you, and you're trying to find a way into those rooms. And they can it can come from a weird angle or a different side, or that's definitely part of the puzzle solving. The reviews for this game were really excited about it when it came out, and I was like, yes, let's do
Now
this.
I'm excited about
I'm
it.
into this. And I was kind of liking it, but I'll say at the end of the game, at my end of the game, it kind of left a weird taste in my mouth.
Yeah, that's too bad. So, how long is the game? It's not super long, right?
I beat it in 7 hours.
Okay, so
Probably when I stopped playing was probably 12 or 13 hours.
so you'd say the majority of it you enjoyed.
Yes.
But-
So the initial game, I don't know how to say this. The puzzles are kind of easy. Like,
Okay.
I feel like everyone was getting really pumped about it, but they're pretty easy for the most part. And then you go to this thing called the egg hunt, which is there's a room with 60 eggs. And let's say maybe you beat it. I had like 20, right? And they're hidden all over the place.
Okay.
It's literally an Easter egg hunt because they look, it's the same thing. That you're trying to find these eggs all around the levels, and that's pretty much what you do after you beat the game. You're looking around for eggs.
Okay.
And so I did that. I was still pumped up on it. I looked around for eggs. I found a lot. I got to about 56, and then I was like, I'm going online to look for eggs. And I found the last eggs. They were in a place I either didn't check, because that's how the egg hunt works, is you look at the entire map, and then it can take you anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes and walking through this and that. And sometimes you almost have to redo part of a puzzle, and you have to traverse. And it's like, oh, I looked around here to find this egg. So obviously, if you don't particularly know where the egg is, you're like, why am I doing this? What am I doing?
What am I even looking for right now?
Why am I going to play this game for an hour and get nothing? So that's what kind of killed me.
Yeah.
Killed my fever for the game.
So, if you took out the Easter egg hunt part of it, the egg hunt, would you say the game was still good then?
It was, so it went from good but pretty basic puzzles to okay, like a step down from good, to these are kind of sometimes hidden a little too much, and some of the other puzzles they're all right. They're okay. They're a little bit too reliant on experimentation, or
Yeah.
you could, let's just say you could definitely come at them a bad way where you're like, I would have never figured that out. Like
Yeah.
there's a certain item that has a certain use that you might figure it out or you might never figure it out. And that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then you get to the third tier of puzzles, let's say after you beat those 60 eggs, which are just like, in my mind, don't even bother. Like one of the puzzles is you have this giant grid of almost like an LED screen, and you get one square out of it, out of 50. And you're supposed to, quote, work together with people from the internet to solve it. And I'm like, dude, you didn't think that would be a stupid idea? Like, come on.
Trying to get people on the internet
I'm going to work
together?
together with 50 people. I'm going to look it up online and find the solution. And the other solutions are just as much like kind of out there. And it kind of, I don't know. At the end, it stretches the credibility of the game
That's too bad.
to the point where you're like, you know, like when a puzzle game ends, you want to feel good. Like, I beat the final boss puzzle, right? I did
Yeah.
it. Or maybe I just checked off a list and I did it all. But this one's kind of like, oh, you did it? There's even more puzzles. And your response is, I don't want to. I don't want to do more.
More?
I don't want to do
I'm
anymore.
done though.
These are too hard.
I hate puzzles.
So it kind of,
Why am I here in the first place?
so by the time I finished the game, I was like, yeah, it was all right.
That's too bad. I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite things in a game, whether it's a puzzle game, a platformer, whatever, is when something is hard, but you know it's doable because you just need to get a little bit better. But I hate the other side of that where this is hard and I can't figure out what the heck I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel fun. It's just annoying.
And it's not like, you know, because like I'd say a game like Baba Is You, it's kind of half and half. Like half of it is figuring out how to do it, or the what would you say, the outline, the idea behind it, and then the
Yeah.
other half is the execution. And they play with it. Sometimes the idea is super easy, the execution is very hard. You know, sometimes it's the opposite. But this game, it's like you get to these ridiculous puzzles, and it gets more into like the adventure game territory, which, because I'm someone on the spectrum of puzzle to adventure games. I really like the puzzle where it's more set in stone, and when it starts to get the adventure where you're guessing like what they're intending, I start to get really irritated because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How am I supposed to figure out what you want?
Well, I didn't know I had to use the chicken on that. You know, like what is this? There's plenty of examples from the 90s.
Point and click games did a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say Animal Well. My review is leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Rip. That's the thing with reviews a lot of the times too, is you don't know how far into the game they got. You don't know if they 100%ed it or if they only played 20%.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reviewers were really, really jazzed up on the initial part and kind of the look of it. And then they were also maybe people who didn't play puzzle games a lot, so they were just kind of impressed by the basic idea. Like, I don't mean to say if you play puzzle games more, you would be less impressed, but that's kind of what I'm saying. Because you see that stuff all the time. Maybe
Yeah.
it was more novel to them.
This
I'll
was a
put it
bit more mainstream, whereas most puzzle fans are like,
okay.
we've been playing this for months, years.
This is a mainstream puzzle game and it's lame. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you know what I mean? It was a
yeah.
bigger novelty to reviewers at the time who
Yeah.
maybe don't do a lot of puzzle games. And it was cool and it was very fun. Probably until you beat it. And then it's a sliding scale of fun after that.
That's kind of hard because, like, to me, man, that makes it hard to like completely rate something. Because to me, the main game, you know, from A to Z is what really makes the game what it is. All the end game stuff is different because that can vary according to how much somebody likes something. So if somebody said this game's a 10 out of 10 based off of just the main game, that's fair. Like if that's as far as their mileage goes out of it. But you see what I'm saying? Like it is like
Do you do this? I do this more as I get older. I beat a game and it's like, all right, now the end game's beginning. And I'm like, see you later. I'm done.
yeah, it depends on how much I like the game.
I would have to really like the game.
Yeah, a lot of games I'm like, well, like I guess probably one of the main examples is like Spider-Man. Like I liked Spider-Man a lot, the Insomniac ones, like Insomniac one. But when I finished the first game, I had bought the Game of the Year edition, so it had all the DLC, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I've never played the DLC, but there's other games that the second I'm done, I'm like, give me more. I want the DLC. Like, I want to play through it again. Like, it just depends, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just gaming in general. Some games really click with people, and they'll replay that game 100 times. And other people, like, just going back to Spider-Man again, I loved I'm just using the first one as an example, but I loved it. It was fantastic. I had a lot of fun. But when I was done with the main story, I didn't need more. Like, I was like, I would have probably said the game was an 8 or 9 out of 10, but I didn't need to keep going to have enjoyed what I played.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go on to my last game. I know.
The final countdown.
My final one. So, like I've said recently, like, I haven't played a ton since I finished Rebirth. I've played stuff here and there, but it's been harder for me to get into anything long term, and I've had struggle finding something short that I wanted to really stick on. And I have a couple other games I could mention, but I don't have enough to say about them. Where, like as an example, I bought Oddworld Munch's Odyssey on Game Boy Advance. I don't have anything to say about it because I haven't played very much. I don't like what I've played, but I maybe if I played it more. But what am I going to say about a game I've spent maybe 30 minutes in so far? And that's kind of where a lot of my other games fall, is into that category where I have not played enough to be like, man, I really like what I've played, or man, I hate what I've played. Like, I haven't given it fair enough shake to say like much about it.
Have you started playing SSX for the SSX episode that's
No,
going out?
but I need to. That's a winter episode now, so I have some time. But I
Better
do
start now.
I only have 3 and on tour, so I need to get tricky in the first one so that I can play them all.
No first one, only Tricky and
So
3.
I
That's
have to skip the first one completely.
Skip the first one.
Okay.
It's only fun for informational purposes.
Okay, what about Blur? I don't want to play Blur either.
What?
We're not talking about all of them.
What's
We're only-
Blur?
Are you being serious?
I am. What is Blur?
It's SSX Blur. It's a snowboarding
It's
game.
only Tricky and 3. That's the scope of the episode.
Okay, so the episode only cares about those two.
That's it.
Even if I play on tour and I love it, I can't talk about it. I have
You could talk about it at the end of the episode, and we'd all be kind of checked out.
We're moving on. Yeah, I haven't played them yet, but I do have 3, so I have to get tricky so that I can have something to say in the episode.
Exactly.
Or according to you, I only play 3 and I'm good, right?
No, you have to play Tricky because you can't.
I can't be unbiased. I have to be unbiased.
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
be biased. Okay. All right. Well, that's for a future episode. So that's coming up. So my last game that I've been playing. This is what I've been playing for probably the last month or so. And that's a game called Nobody Saves the World. Have either of you heard of it before?
No.
Both emphatically shaking their
No.
heads. So I believe I'd seen it before, but I didn't know too much about it. It was free on PlayStation Plus probably around January. So I had like most PlayStation Plus games, I claimed it so that I could play it if I chose to. But when I got my PlayStation Portal, I downloaded it because I figured it looked like a game that would play well on the Portal. Because it doesn't need a TV to play. It's very simple looking, kind of 2D graphics, overhead style. So a little information on the game. It originally released in 2022, in January 2022 on Xbox, and a few months later on PlayStation and Switch and on PC. It is created by Drinkbox Studios, who are most well known for having created the Guacamelee games. So Guacamelee 1 and 2, and then the game Severed as well. That's probably what they're most well known for. Anybody who hasn't played it, Guacamelee is really fun. Metroidvania style game, but in an Aztec type setting. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about here. But I like those games a lot. So when I realized this game was made by that team, I was like, okay, like I'll give this a go. So I started playing it finally about a month ago. And what it is at the beginning of the game, you start off waking up in like a beaten down shack, and you're this little white dude like whose eyes are like black holes. The art style is kind of like has a creepy Coraline look to it, or like a little Tim Burton-y, I guess. It's very unique. It's creepy but cutesy at the same time. But anyway, so you wake up in this shack and you have no idea who you are, and then events transpire and you end up getting a magician's wand, and that wand allows you to change shape into different creatures. So your character is called Nobody because you have no idea who you are, so everybody just kind of considers you a nobody. But you can change shape into these other characters. So you start off as a rat, and as you level up the rat and unlock new abilities, you then have a branching path that unlocks new forms that you can play as. So you get like a soldier and an archer, and then you get more, crazy things as you go along, like a bodybuilder and a ghost and a mermaid and a turtle and a magician. There's all kinds of stuff. Some of them are much more fun to play than others. But the style of the game is an action-adventure dungeon crawler. So, like I said, it's over the top. You push X to do your basic attack, but square, or depending on what console you're playing on, your 4 face buttons each do a different attack that you unlock more of as you level up the class. Some of the coolest things about it are there's a bunch of different dungeons. Each dungeon has a little bit of a different gimmick. And these dungeons are also randomly generated. So if you start the dungeon and you die, when you start over, the dungeon starts over fresh. Where monsters spawn differently, the layout is different, everything's different in the dungeon. So that's kind of fun. It makes it a little bit more challenging to go through each dungeon and gives you a reason to go back if you want to level up or do anything else in these other dungeons. But each one has a gimmick that kind of makes you have to change up how you build your character to play through it. So if you want to play through the dungeon, but it has only 2 types of attacks are effective against the majority of the enemies, you have to pick and build your character according to how you can beat the majority of the enemies in the dungeon. And this might sound confusing to people who haven't played the game before, but it works really well. And what's cool about it is as you unlock all these other forms, each one has 4 abilities, and 3 of those 4 abilities can be used by each other form. So you can mix and match. Each one has 3 abilities where 2 of them can be used by the other forms. So you can mix and match your abilities onto whatever form to kind of create a loadout that works best for you in different dungeons. It's all in all, I just found it to be a very fun game. I like the aspect of leveling up each form to max it out, to unlock other forms, to get new abilities. And it made it fun to you had to think about how you wanted to tackle certain dungeons. So as an example, there's one dungeon where every enemy's killed in 1 hit, but you were also killed in 1 hit. So you had to play it both defensively and offensively, because they wouldn't just be killed by any ability. You had to use certain types of attacks to kill certain enemies. So it made it where you really had to use strategy to make it through the dungeon to actually be able to survive and kill everything. So I really liked that aspect of the game because it made it very unique to go through most of the dungeons. All in all, I found it to be a really, really fun game. Pretty refreshing. It kind of falls slightly into the rogue-like category where it had some of those similarities. But all in all, it's one solid playthrough. So you don't have, it's not a roguelite where you actually, are starting fresh and building off of each playthrough. The game has a 2-player mode that that I haven't played because I don't know anybody else that has the game or anybody else who wanted to play it at least. But it's a very cool game. It's got a pretty strong sense of humor about it. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously, even though the world's being, defeated by this calamity and people are slowly turning into fungus creatures and stuff. Even though there's this darkness about the game, it's all very lighthearted and kind of makes fun of itself pretty regularly. Overall I really enjoyed it. I just finished it today. My goal was to finish it before this episode, and I was pretty close, but yeah, I finished it probably about just before I went to pick you up today. I really like the game. It's not the kind of game that's for everybody, because the type of game it is just won't be for everybody. But if it sounds fun at all, where you like kind of like the dungeon crawling aspect and the different forms and the different abilities, I definitely suggest giving it a try. I truly enjoyed it. And even though I have it digitally, it's a game that I think I'll probably buy physically eventually to play on Switch or something, so I can play. It's a game I see playing through again in the future, just when I want something that's kind of mindless but with a lot of strategy. Does that make sense? Mindless and strategy, I guess, don't always go hand in hand, but
sometimes. Does it have an overworld for the dungeons?
Yeah, so it's one big map. So as you move along, you unlock different areas and stuff. None of that. I think the map's the same every playthrough. The dungeons are the only thing that are random. But yeah, so there's you unlock a new area, and then you might be able to find new dungeons as you go around. But yeah,
So it's not like a Zelda game where the overworld has a lot of stuff. It's more focused on the dungeons, right? Is that what
yeah.
you're saying?
There's
Okay.
not too much like there's a bunch of treasure chests and stuff you can find, but it's like if you decide never to open a single one, the only thing you would hurt you is you don't have enough money maybe to buy certain things. Yeah, you don't. The forms are all of your abilities. So, and you only there's no like crazy hidden paths and stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward, but the dungeons are where the difficulty are. But there's only I think 6 main dungeons. You could skip the rest of it if you didn't want to do all the side stuff. But I enjoyed it enough to. I basically 100%ed the game. I did all the side stuff and really enjoyed all of my time with it. I finished all the dungeons along the way, but my understanding is, other than the 6 main ones that you need to collect the pieces to recreate the gem that you need for the main story, you can skip everything else. But yeah, it's a fun game. If you claimed it on PS Plus, it might be worth trying out. But I don't know if it's one that runs cheap very often or anything, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it would make for a fun 2-player game, and it is local co-op as well as online co-op. So it might be something worth checking out if you're looking for like a dungeon crawly type multiplayer game. But that game has been what's taken up the majority of my solo player time. Like I still play Apex on occasion, and I like it, but I don't feel like talking about it. It's boring to talk about. And I've been trying the Valorant beta that's out on console now, but once again, those are fun to play with people, but I'm not passionate about them. So like it's not really fun to sit here and talk about for a long period of time. So I could have came up with more games to talk about, but I figured I'd focus on the games I've actually been playing. So yeah. So that's it for me. My list is done. So if you guys have a lot more to go over, I'm just going to be sitting here.
I got more.
Oh,
I have some more.
Joel's got a whole list. Let's go to Connor first, though.
Hold on. I was thinking about PlayStation.
Stop.
PlayStation Plus, I hate that they make you claim it each month. That drives me up the wall.
I think they should just give it to you so you don't have to think about it.
Exactly. When I did it, guess how many times I forgot it?
Every month.
Every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. Luckily they send you a reminder, because if there's not a game I'm excited for, a lot of times I forget to double check. But the reminder where that pops up on your screen, I'm like, oh yeah, I should go do that real quick.
Why do I have to do that?
Yeah, they should just give it to you. I don't know why it's not just, if you log on once during that month, it should just be like, oh, here you go.
Yeah,
they're in your library now.
Right?
But I hope they probably hope you'll forget, so you just have to still buy them later.
They do.
All right, Connor, what else you been playing?
Okay. I've been playing Star Wars Fallen Order. I believe that's what it's called.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
The story of Cal Kestis.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been liking it?
It's pretty good. I've tried it several times over the years, but this is the one that I'm actually gonna play because I got it on my Steam Deck during May 4th because it was like $4.
That's a good price.
So I decided to buy it, and I decided that I was gonna play it on the hardest difficulty I could.
Ah, so
because
you
to see
like
how long it would
punishment.
take. Yes. I don't know. I think it's Grandmaster or it's Jedi Master. I'm not sure.
So, how far into it are you?
Not very far. I've played like 5 hours, but the game is pretty long. So,
Yeah. And playing through it on the hardest difficulty, it's
Mhm.
really a glutton for punishment that you are.
I'm on Kashyyyk. I think it's like the island after not the island, the world,
The planet, yeah.
the planet after the tutorial planet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am.
The planet of the Wookiees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked Fallen Order. I thought it was one of those games where I had so little faith that EA would release a Star Wars game that I actually cared to play, that when it came out I completely ignored it. Sorry, I don't know. My dog apparently really likes you, Joel. Yeah, I completely ignored it when it came out, but I ended up playing it maybe 6 months later, and I loved it. Great story, great battle system. I know people say it's kind of like a Souls-like game where it's very your defense matters just as much as your attack. But yeah, I really liked it. I will say though, if you are really hoping to finish it, you might want to lower the difficulty, because being on the highest difficulty will make you want to rip your hair out.
It already has.
So you're a masochist then. You just want to keep going back for more.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I like the customization in it. I know that Survivor has more customization.
Yeah.
I know that in Survivor, and not in Fallen Order, but Survivor has the what is it called? The cross guard lightsaber, which is my favorite kind of lightsaber because I think it looks really cool.
It does. The Kylo Ren lightsaber, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, as you continue to play it, you'll have to let us know what you think. I know I really liked it. Some of the side quests were really good in that game, and some of the backstory was really impactful. So, keep playing it, power through it. Don't be afraid to lower the difficulty if it means that it'll help you finish it.
I know.
So, all right, Joel, back to you.
All right. What else do I have on my list? Okay, so this one. Hades. Have you heard of this game?
What the hell is that?
What's that?
Greek hell?
So, I know I said on this podcast a while ago, I said I don't like top-down games. I said I don't like them.
Yeah.
And
Very adamant.
so I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try one.
So I've never actually played one.
I think I have. I don't know. So I said, why not? Because this game's on sale sometimes. Why? This is like the Cadillac of top-down games, right? This is the best one that people
Everybody
say.
loved this game.
So why not give it a try? And I'll say it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Turns out top-down games aren't as bad as I thought they were.
I didn't say that. So it's I would say this is probably the best of them because it seems like the developer has made a lot of top-down games in the past, and they've kind of sidestepped some of the problems they may have. I guess I would say, so this game's based on Greek mythology. It's kind of a roguelite, and you do these roguelite, whichever one.
Light.
Whichever one you want to call it.
I learned in the car here that it is light.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I believe that's because it has a lot of the same similarities as a rogue game, but is not exactly a rogue game. It's a lot. It's
Okay,
hard. It's
okay.
a confusing thing.
Anyway, so you keep making these runs, and you're trying to get out of Hades, and you just basically fight enemies on this top-down kind of map. And when I first played it, I was like, I didn't like it as much. I was like, this is all right. I mean, you die a lot, like you get beat a lot. But kind of as I played it more, I started to realize that the thing the game is trying to teach you is using the tools you have available in the smartest way, and to use the spacing between you and the enemies. Like, I guess I'd say it this way. You know how the first like Halo game works? How every enemy has something very predictable to them. Like, you know what they're going to do because this is like, it's kind of good game design, right? Every enemy is readable, like especially in Hades. So every enemy has one attack. That's it. They only do one thing. They have a huge wind up before they do it, and then they do it, right? That's it. So the fun of the game is how they mix the enemies together. And that's kind of why it reminds me of Halo, because Halo, all the enemies were very basic too, and there was like, what, maybe 3 or 4?
Yeah, there
like
wasn't a
it
lot.
was a ridiculously low amount, but you never complained, right?
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I'm having a great time every time, because of the way they mix together. And that's kind of, to me, that's the strength of the game, is besides all the other things like the roguelite and keeping it fun each time, which I will say too, the way they make that fun is you kind of get these steady slow upgrades to your base statistics in a way that is not entirely the way you might think it would be. And so you upgrade those, but you're also upgrading your actual skill at the game at the same time. So each run, like, it was very progressive for me. Like, when I played it, like, I would get to the first boss and I would die. I would, maybe get a little bit less or a little bit more. But it was so steady. It was like, oh, now I can do the first boss. And then they introduced 2 other first bosses that they'll swap out, which are harder versions. Oh, man, this other one kills me, but I can sometimes get to the second area. And you kind of move along like that until it's like, oh, I can get to the third area every time. And that's kind of satisfying. And
Yeah.
Even though your stats are increasing in the background, your skills are also increasing. And in your mind, you're like, it's all me. I'm just good.
I'm better.
I'm just good now.
I am a god.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I thought that was cool. The way it kind of encouraged reading the game and keeping your spacing between the enemies and managing all of them in that way. I was like, oh, this is actually a smarter game than I thought it was. I don't know if I thought it was stupid, but when I first played it, I played it kind of stupid. I was like, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna mess all those enemies up, and if I take some hits, whatever, you know. And that's not the way to play it. That's how you lose really quick.
Yeah.
So I can see why
What people might like
why
about it.
it's so popular.
Yeah.
And there is a way when you kind of get in there and you get very close to the enemies there's a certain close range weapon that you start with, you can see the inherent downfalls of the top-down game because it's not readable. You don't quite know where you are. You're getting hit in ways that like you're like, what's going on? You know, so I think focusing on that spacing and keeping your distance and knowing what's going on is how to make a good top-down game and not. Because as soon as you get too close to the enemies, it's a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah.
It's not something new. Not as fun.
Yeah. That makes sense. I still haven't played Hades. I like a good rogue type game, but I don't know. I haven't played it yet. But Connor, you've played it, yeah?
It is also on my list. So, yeah. Everything he said, I have the same exact opinions on.
It's good.
It's good. It's really fun. It's the first one of those games I've ever played, really.
Yeah.
Rogue. I like the weapons. The weapons are really cool. I like the character designs. They're great.
Yeah. That team, I know that's the same developer that did Transistor and Bastion. Bastion. And I never played Transistor, but I played Bastion, and I really like the art style in that game. And Hades definitely has a very similar art style. Kind of falls into that same line. It's a game that I by every account should have played by this point, but
Yeah, you can see that. I don't know. I feel it's the way about a couple of indie studios. Like, it's cool to see a studio like gain confidence in themselves, where they're like, "This is what we do, and this is good. I know this is good."
yeah,
You know, so like I see a lot of upcoming games that I'm like, "Oh, cool. That's like their third or fourth game, and they know what their deal is."
Yeah.
You know,
they know what they've done well, and they're just
they
trying
know
to improve it.
Yeah, exactly. They focus on their strengths.
Yeah.
And like he said about the weapons, there's like I think there's like 6 main weapons, and I thought it was cool that they kind of slow drip feed the game to you at the start to kind of get you to understand, but they'll randomly pick a weapon that gets a pretty decent bonus on one of the items you get as a currency.
Yeah.
And that kind of what they're trying to say is, hey, try a different weapon, right?
Yeah,
And
they're trying to get you to branch out.
yeah, and I thought that was cool because there'd be weapons that I would be like, this weapon is lame. You know, I would hate it, and then I would be like, okay, well, let me just try it. We'll see what happens, and then I'll be like, oh, you can do this with that, and you can do and if you use this power up, oh man, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. It kind of lets you. That's a good way to let you discover it yourself instead of explicitly telling you, hey, did you know that if you put this power up, you know, you can kind of learn as you go.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about that type of game is just the fact that because of the randomness of a lot of it, you're forced to use things that you might not normally want to use, and sometimes like Enter the Gungeon is a roguelite that I really like, and like the guns that in that game, the guns that become your favorites. But sometimes you just don't get those, and you have to use what you're given. And on occasion, it works out where you're like, oh, this gun's actually way better than I gave it credit for when I shot it twice and was like, okay, I'm selling it because I want to just keep using what I have.
Yeah, and it kind of shows you as a player, like, how rigid you can kind of get, like, at the start. Like, you will absolutely judge this weapon in 2 seconds or a class or whatever, and you'll be like, they're no good. That's nothing. That's garbage.
Exactly.
But, like, when the game is well thought out like that, where they give all the weapons and some of the power-ups, maybe synergies that you didn't know, and maybe stuff like that, like little things that can make it more powerful. It's kind of like, oh, you feel rewarded for just spending time with the game more.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a difference, and that's just good game development too. It's one of the things I like most about that rogue style of game too, is it seems like a lot of times they've put a lot of thought and effort into how the game is to be played and how you proceed in it, and they're the kinds of games that keep you coming back the most.
And yeah, to me they seem like the old arcade games. It's kind of like the extension of that idea.
Yeah.
like you come in, you do a run, and then like every time I play a roguelike and I do one run, I'm done.
Yep.
Unless it's at the very start usually.
Yeah,
But-
and on occasion, like something will hit me where I'm like, I got to do that again. Like I wasn't happy with that, but generally speaking, like I've said it before, but Enter the Gungeon is probably my favorite currently, and has been for a while. And I always have it on my console because sometimes like I know I only have a short period of time. Like I'll try to do a run, and on occasion I'll make it through the whole thing. Most of the time I don't, but usually one and done is good.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think they're a type of game you fit into your gaming curriculum.
Yeah, the repertoire.
Your diet.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
There's something that fits in a certain place and it fits there well.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you're not going to play it back to back. You're not
Yeah.
going to binge it for 5 days straight. You know.
It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if you find that you like it, yeah, it's best played in small doses most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like everybody should have one that they fall back on to fill that void in their gaming schedule.
Yeah, but maybe you get the thing like I do. Like I did Slay the Spire, and I thought that was super fun. And then I beat it with all 3 of the main characters, and then I was like, I'm done.
Now what?
There's like plenty of harder modes you can do after, but I was like, meh, why bother?
Yeah, I've never actually played Slay the Spire, but I know people love it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as time goes, so I told the guys before we started the episode, but on my SD card I only had enough for just over 2 hours worth of content, and we're coming up on the end of that. So that just goes to show it doesn't matter how small we want to keep the episode, we still managed to fill the time. So why don't you guys, if you have more to talk about, why don't you guys do one more game each, and then we're going to run into the listener responses and close up. So Connor, do you have another game you'd like to mention?
Well, I was going to talk about this when you guys were talking about Hades 2. Not Hades 2, Hades. But Hades 2 just got released, and I've been wanting to play that. I don't really have another game to talk about. But
It's in early access still, yeah?
and the cool thing about it is it has the same amount of content that the original had, just in early access, and there's going to be more.
Oh, that's impressive. If by the end they're saying there's going to be more content, that's a lot to look forward to then. Yeah, well, that's cool. That's definitely something else to look forward to for you then. All right, Joel, you got a last game or two?
Last game. So I had this game called Mini Shoot Adventures. Like mini, the word mini, and then shoot. Why do these games have such bad names?
I don't know.
So this was a game that basically they made it like a top-down shooter, but it's a 360 degrees.
Okay.
So imagine you move your analog thing, the analog thing,
The analog
whatever
thing,
they
yeah.
have on the controller. The one on the left.
What was that, Grandpa?
You move that one, and you move your ship, and then your right analog stick is, shoots whatever direction.
Yeah, so it's a twin stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
You're
that...
right. You're right. I haven't played a
falls
twin
into.
stick in a while. So it's a twin stick, but it's like an open world twin stick,
Okay.
and the world is like very, very similar to like a Zelda game.
Okay.
So it seems like a weird idea, but I think they did the controls enough so that the game itself is like just incredibly fun to play, no matter what you're doing. Like incredibly fun. You're always having a good time. All the enemies are fun. Sometimes it goes up to like bullet hell levels of avoiding, bullets. And you get lots of power-ups. There's dungeons, just like Zelda, it's literally the exact same layout as Zelda, where you go through the dungeon where you don't have the cool power-up, and then you get it about halfway through, and then you get the cool power-up, and the boss. Like, they took the entire game design sheet of Zelda and
turned it into
a twin-stick shooter.
Yeah.
Yes. And it works really, really well. I blazed through this game like 100% of it. Like I could not stop playing. I don't know why. It was so addicting. So that's my recommendation.
That's pretty high praise. Is it just on Steam right now?
It's just on Steam. Get a Steam Deck, y'all.
What's it called again? Mini shooter? Mini shoot?
MiniShoot.
Mini shoot. Man, that's a bad name. Like
It
you
is.
said, like
Yeah, it's not good.
I would never think like, man, I want to play mini shoot.
I remember I saw it and I didn't put it on my wish list, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. And I had to like search for like 10 minutes. I was like, what was that game called? It's so forgettable.
That's sad. Like, figure out a better name for your game, guys. And yeah, I don't know. It just goes to show that just because a name is it's the old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. Like, just because a game is named bad doesn't mean it is bad. But
Yeah.
man, it makes it hard to pick sometimes over
I know.
other stuff.
I know. I see so many that it's like I feel like you have to appreciate the games that are named well.
Yeah, right. Good job, Dragon's Dogma.
Dragons, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean,
What are you
gets the
doing?
point across.
Yeah.
Raid
monsters.
Shadow Legends, the sponsor of today's podcast.
Oh, really? Thanks, Connor. You got us a sponsor? Oh, man. Well, thanks, guys, for sharing more details on what you've been playing. I know, long story short, did I mention this in the outset? I can't remember, but I didn't have an episode for this week. I was trying to get back in line. I'd scheduled out all my episodes, but somewhere along the line, one got missed or moved around, and I was off schedule for the every 2 weeks that I like to try to keep. I don't need to keep it that, but I like to try to keep it that. And then because the episode after this one was going to be Nintendo 64 themed again, I wanted it to be number 64, so I was like, I have to get something in here.
What? Your last Nintendo 64 episode was so conclusive, though. What?
So we're gonna do a collector's edition. So we're gonna talk about the rarity and stuff of specific
Okay.
games. Yeah, no, we're not ranking them again, but no, it worked pretty well. That was a fun episode. So yeah, but Joel had the idea, like, let's just spend some more time talking about what we've been playing, and I was like, that's a good idea, and it might make for a chill, shorter episode. And
Good
we
job,
are at
Joel.
slightly shorter than normal. Still ended up being long. But before we conclude, I did ask the Discord a question. And that was basically that we're going to be talking about what we've been playing. So what have you been playing? And I told them that they can add a little bit more to it if they want, other than just what the game is, but no pressure. And I got a few responses. So first, Ben Livid said, I've been playing Animal Crossing on the GameCube and Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. Both are great. And I have heard that Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is really good. The Monkey Ball games have always been a game that I've enjoyed enough, but this one seems like they've really hit it out of the park with bringing it back to the basics, but also making it more exciting than like they have been in a while. So, and it has like a 20-player multiplayer mode too. So, yeah, like it looks like it might be worth playing. And then let's see, Qui-Gon Jimmy responded to that, basically saying that he's heard that it's really good too. Okay, thanks, James. Then later on, he mentions what he's actually been playing. Okay, so then Kliga Man said, I've been playing Black Mesa. It's the Half-Life remake, since I've only played Half-Life 2, and that was back when the Orange Box came out, which was, circa 2007? I've still never played Half-Life 1 or 2. I feel like that falls under like the gaming sin category.
I played the Orange Box when it came out, and it's the only game to give me motion sickness.
So Half-Life itself?
So, highly recommend.
Yeah, let's go.
Half-Life 2.
I've played only like Valve game I've ever really played, other than a little bit of Counter-Strike, was I played Portal 2 years ago. That was the first time I ever played Portal. So I feel like I'm pretty far behind.
You hadn't played it when we did the puzzle episode, did you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I played it later that year.
Now you done it.
Now I've done it. I need to play Portal 2 so I can say I've completed the Portal series. So I guess they have that Portal bridge builder or something, right?
What? I don't know what you're talking
Just ignore me.
It's easy.
Shut up.
about. Oh, it must be VR, right?
Exactly. It's on VR. That's why you don't know it. Now I Rock a Teller Suit said he's been playing Balatro Yellow Deck Gold Stake. Can't do it. Most addicting game I've ever played. Send help. I have yet to play it, so I don't know what that all means, but I do want to play that game. I have it on my list. I'm probably going to... I want to buy it physically, but I think I'm just going to buy it digitally here soon so I can start playing it. That should make you happy, Joel.
What?
That I'm going to buy it digitally so I can just play the
Yes. Just play the game.
game. Yeah, I know. I don't need to wait.
I'm all about the games.
Yeah,
You know?
Sorry. Yeah. The Alex Stravaganza said, I started up Horizon Zero Dawn again, finally getting into the first cauldron. I love how the story progresses while still giving you freedom to explore. And I'm also close to finishing Shadows Over Loathing. Anyone who likes a game that's light on RPG but heavy on humor and absurdity needs to play the Loathing series. Yeah, I like the idea of the Loathing games a lot, but I have not played either of them.
Is that the black and white games?
Yeah, the stick figures.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're very clever, very funny games. I need to actually get to finally. Oh, okay. Then James comes back. Qui-Gon Jimmy actually says what he's been playing. How long after this was this? almost 4 hours later, he actually responded with what he's been playing.
What is wrong with that guy?
And he said he just beat Super Mario RPG Remake. With all the quality of life changes, it's a super quick play these days, which I actually really appreciated. Doesn't detract from how great a game that still is. The game already aged well, but the added cutscenes and triple moves really make it add a freshness to this game. And it's so easy to forget how incredible the soundtrack is. The real challenge begins after you beat the game, took a swing at Culex and got slapped back to reality. Currently working on that. This game hasn't lost an ounce of its charm. Love it to death. Play the one that started it all if you still haven't. He's referring to the Mario RPG that started the string of Mario RPGs that we have now. Yeah, I need to play it. I love Mario RPG. And I'm not surprised you got smacked by Culex. Loser.
Mean.
Hey, he's my friend. I'm allowed to talk to him like that. No, James, you can do this. I believe in you. And then Jerry Bear said, "Good man, I've been playing Being a Dad. What's free time again?" Then Joel said, "In 4 years, you should get a little more free time unless you start New Babe Plus. Then your time is toast." All right, 4 years, here we come. Yes. If you guys want time to play video games, don't have kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simple as
Time-
that.
That's what I did.
Video games more important.
Yeah, kids, video games.
Yeah.
No, thanks all for your comments. Definitely need to get to a couple of these that you mentioned as well. But yeah, so we're going to wrap it up here. We're just past the 2-hour mark. A nice shorter episode before our inevitably long one next time because it's just how it seems to go. And it's still not short to some people. So, but I assume those people don't listen to the podcast anyway. So thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for preparing, having things to talk about. It's much appreciated. Anything you'd like to share before we sign off here?
No.
Oh, well. You don't want to talk about your new job changes or anything?
No.
Nothing else, Connor?
No.
All right. Well, you guys suck. So, no. We're going to go ahead and conclude here. So, if you haven't already, per the norm, please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, wherever you listen to, Instagram, wherever else. And I'll go ahead and plug the YouTube here again. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the YouTube because I am trying to grow that as I get ready to start putting out video content here in the next couple months. This sounds like a threat at this point. I've been mentioning it the last couple episodes.
What's
don't
your
have a
what's
choice.
your what's your YouTube ideas?
What ideas do I have?
Yeah.
Oh, is this going to be a surprise, man? You're going to have to find out.
Never mind.
Nobody
Sorry.
has actually shared their what they want to see on the YouTube. So if you do have ideas of what you want to see on a YouTube channel from me, feel free to share. But what
Pokemon Nuzlocke.
I'm not doing a Nuzlocke challenge. Not on video at least.
I want you to stream weird Minecraft videos and scream.
like stream myself playing them
Oh yeah.
or watching them.
Yeah. It's good
I probably
stuff.
will scream because I'm terrible at Minecraft.
What the?
I've never watched one of those, so
I have.
I've played very little Minecraft, but I enjoy it. I'm just terrible at the building aspect of it. So, all right. Well, on that note, we're going to close out. So, yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you here again in about 2 weeks. And remember to always press X to continue. Later, guys.